Peace, everybody. My name is Maia Williams. I'm founder of MechaCon, Midwest Ethnic Convention for Comics and Arts. Today is the first day of the 4th annual MechaCon convention. Today we will be facilitating 2 music panels sponsored by Submerge and Underground Resistance. Our first panel is this panel right here. It is the life and times of Detroit jazz. With this, on this panel, we have Jalo Jacate, we have Ian Finkelstein, we have Hassan Belgrave, Brandon Williams, Sax Appeal, Ladero Johnson, and Lorenzo Zoe Ferguson. And I'm going to let everybody introduce themselves briefly, starting with you.
Hi, I'm Jalo Jacate.
Everybody say what you do, what instruments you play, and all of that. Just a brief statement of who you are and what you do.
I play drums and getting into a little bit of writing now. I have some new writing tools at home and stuff, so I'm trying to explore that avenue. So,
mysterious.
Just love the music, you know. Yeah.
My name is Ian Finkelstein. I'm mainly a jazz keyboardist and pianist, and I also produce and perform around the city of Detroit. And I am a member of Video 7, and I am, happy to be here.
My name is Hassan Belgrave. I'm a junior at the University of Michigan. I play saxophone, clarinet, and a bunch of woodwinds, piano, drums, you name it. I'm in school now, so I'm not committed to a certain group right now, or I'm just trying to find out find some new music to explore and try to get into the scene of many genres of music, like jazz and techno and hip hop, R&B, classical, rock. I'm just trying to be more diverse.
My name's Brandon Williams, musician, producer, multi-instrumentalist. I play drums, piano, guitar, mic, sign, name it. That's what I do. Yeah, I just love music. Love to write, love to perform, arrange. That's about it.
My name is Ladero Johnson, professionally known as Sax Appeal. It's in the name. I play saxophone, recording artist, touring musician, producer, philanthropist.
Lorenzo Ferguson, known as Zoe, musician, producer, multi-instrumentalist, touring musician, musical director for the Foreign Exchange, also an educator, and I guess now a filmmaker.
Yes,
Yeah.
Right.
First, I want to talk about, since this is a jazz panel, we want to talk more along the lines of Jalo and Brandon, who have heavily been more into the old school way of jazz, the classical jazz. So I want to know from you two what brought you into the community, what made you want to start playing classical jazz and turn it into your own entities. Jalo.
Well, jazz, it was introduced to me during my youth. And when I first heard jazz, I really didn't understand jazz. So it wasn't a music that I was totally gravitated towards. So it was something that I always would go back and listen to because older people dug it. So I just figured it must be something there. I'll hear it later on. So, basically I grew up playing rock and roll and R&B and stuff like that. And in high school, I was reintroduced to jazz, and that's what kind of restarted my thinking on jazz. And being around some heavy competition, Alex Brooks, he was in that band. Before me, Kenny Garrett, he went to Mackenzie too. And there was a whole lot of heavy cats up there, so that kind of got me towards jazz and just listening, doing a lot of listening, hanging around older people. I usually hung around older cats, you know, cats that were at least 10 years old, maybe 20 years older than me. You know, I just sit back and just listen and play these records. And over the years, I've amassed a record collection too. And I met Marcus Belgrave when I was in high school. He came to our high school and played a couple of times because our teacher, Bill Wiggins, he was a heavy jazz guy. He taught Kenny Garrett how to play jazz. And I didn't really go after jazz then because there was so many bad cats out back then. There was really no room for me. We still had Roy Brooks, had George Davison, you had Pistol Allen, Uriel Jones, Tiny Tabar, golly.
All the cats.
It was all kinds of cats. Buster Marbury, oh man. So for years I would just like sit back and just go check out music, you know. Because I worked a day job during those years. So I was trying to figure out how I can get back into jazz. So a good friend of mine, Lorenzo Rhodes, he had just got into this program with Harold McKinney was doing this workshop thing at the Serengeti on Woodward. And he was like, man, Harold McKinney doing this workshop, man. He needs a drummer up there, man. We can play some jazz. And I was like, oh, wow. I need to try to reconnect with this community. This could be a perfect opportunity for me. So I'm lugging my drums up those damn stairs every Thursday, you know. But my whole mindset was like, Harold's gonna like what I'm doing, and before you know it, he's gonna be hiring me. And that's what happened. Nobody else was really showing up, so I was just soaking up all this knowledge. Before you know it, he was hiring me for gigs and stuff like that. And he said, now you know what's gonna happen now. All these cats gonna be calling you up because you're playing with me. And I was like, yeah, you're right, but I'm with you now. He said, it's gonna come a time, I'm not even gonna be able to hire you. And that happened a couple of times. He got pretty pissed.
What about you, Brandon? How did you decide that this was the right genre of music that you wanted to participate in, and how exactly did you enter the community?
I entered the community, but actually, you know something, I don't even know if I've even decided that it was the right, you know, because my path is all over the place.
Everybody on this panel is. That's why I love this panel. Everybody, every last one of y'all.
Gospel, and I mean, whatever it is, but, 'cause, I mean, I'm just a lover of music, but piggybacking off of what Jalo said, my cousin, Charles Wilson, Cass Tech, piano player.
He used to come up to the workshop.
Yeah, I used to come up there with him.
Okay.
Yeah, Charles, yeah, he was like probably 14 at the time. He's no, I can't stand you. But yeah, he's played with, I mean, everybody now, Rihanna and Backstreet Boys, all these different people. But I mean, he was just an amazing piano player when we were young. So, like when I first came up, I came out of church, so I was listening to a lot of, well, not smooth jazz, that wasn't around there, but maybe contemporary jazz. So a lot of Joe Sample, George Duke, that kind of stuff. But when me and Charles connected, he started letting me hear The Loneliest Monk, Wes Montgomery, Jimmy Smith, that kind of stuff. So, like I said, piggybacking off of what Jalo said, he was doing workshops at the Serengeti Ballroom, so I was hanging out with Harold McKinney and Marcus Belgrave and Teddy Harris and all of these people. And yeah, dude. So I went to Baker's for my first time performing at Baker's when I was 12 or 13 years old. And you know, I would just see all of these cats. I saw Jalo playing back then. I was taking some lessons from Pistol. You know, he was at Baker's all the time. Him, George Davison was playing drums. And I mean, that's kind of what it was. But I say, I don't know if I made a decision that was the right, that was the right path. I just love music. So whatever it is, I don't care if it's soul music or funk or R&B or, like, classic, traditional jazz. I just love to play. Yeah, and I'm blessed that I'm able to work in so many different, genres of music. I consider myself to be a student of music in general. So, I don't care if it's an Afro-Cuban gig. I'm down with that. Jazz. I just like to play. So, yeah, I love music.
So one question that I wanted to ask you, Ian and Kassan, was obvious with Kassan, but with both of you all is, what artists that were from Detroit, not even just jazz, but what Detroit jazz artists influenced you all the most, especially with you, Kassan, because you most definitely grew into the community, off that. But what artists influenced you all the most that made you all want to play and focus on the specific interests that you all specialize in the most?
Other than my dad, who was like, I can't explain, like, he's been like, he showed me like the ropes. Like, I've seen, like, I went to the jazz workshops a bunch of times, and I would like see him like just like ratting on like some young people that were like 10 years older than me, because I was like 4 years old, and like I'll be like sitting like in the back just like messing with like the young guys like who were like getting hammered by my dad and just like a whole bunch of the other mentors. So like
His father is Marcus Belgrave, for those of you all that don't know.
So like I've seen like what it takes to go through the struggle, I guess, and to be like, actually a Detroit musician, like, let alone a musician, but like to actually be from Detroit, where there's like such a deep history. And like well, my favorite artist growing up was Thad Jones. And because I was just listening to him, because my dad was like, he was in a phase where like he was like, like actually like kind of like trying to reflect like Thad's music and just like his playing. Another one is Woody Shaw. Like, I would have like my mom and my dad would like just play records of him and of his albums like all day. Phineas Newborn Jr. Too. Art Tatum, Sonny Clark. I'm a real old school guy, because that's where I was literally in my mom's belly listening to like just like some 1950s like swinging music. But as I grew older, like, and I went to middle school and in high school, I lived with my mom like most of my life, because my mom and my dad got divorced like when I was 5. So, and living with her, like I'm growing up in like because she's Japanese, so I'm growing up in like an Asian culture, not so much like what's out here on these streets, like pretty dangerous. So my mom kept me in a good environment. Like she, I was eating mostly like Asian food, like growing up. And the schools I went to Cornerstone charter schools.
Yeah, that's fancy stuff, brother.
Yeah. And from 3rd grade to 6th grade, and I learned a lot of, I was growing up a lot of, black kids, mostly black kids, and I just kind of learned the kind of culture. Like I learned to balance, both of my cultures together, and so that's when I started getting into rap and hip hop. So I would like listen to like Eminem and like a bunch of like.
Bless your heart. I joke, I kid.
And then we like him. Right. Yeah.
He cool.
We like him. Oh no,
I love him. I'm joking. Ignore me, honey. I'm just ignore me.
And then like onto high school, I heard of the name Big Sean, who went to Cass and who actually grew up down the street from where I live on the west side, and just not specifically Eminem and Big Sean and like all these Detroit guys and like Jay Dilla and like all these guys, but just just for me to hear somebody's name from Detroit
Indeed.
that's my responsibility.
Empowering, that's right.
Yeah, that's my responsibility now to go and look from where they came from, because like they also came from a lineage of Detroit rappers and musicians in general. So just me, like I didn't really learn like I didn't learn a lot from. I learned a lot from my dad, of course, but he didn't really show me. He didn't like put it in front of me like, okay, here it is. Instead he kind of let me learn by myself, you know. Like he kind of like just pushed me out there and like, okay, go see what's out there. And it was my responsibility to to go ahead and be like, okay, so I need to check this out. What's good for, what's like what is my ear? Like what is it? What am I gravitating to? You know, not like it's not like he was like forcing me to do it. You know, and that's why I appreciate him a lot, because if I was living with him, it would have been a totally different situation.
Rap, what?
This is what you do.
Robert.
Right. So I like to explore by myself and see like what's out there, you know.
And what about you, young man?
Well, I grew up listening to jazz from my mom and my aunt.
This is Ian. Sorry.
And so for me, it was like I was playing piano from a very young age, and I was listening to all kinds of music from like a really, really young age, including like jazz, like and all kinds of like rock bands. Like I played like drums starting when I was like 5. All this kind of like stuff that I was like allowed to get into because my parents, they bought me like a drum set and were supportive of all the stuff that I like was doing. Because my mom is very like, she's extremely musically oriented, and so like it's again the same thing where I was like going to concerts and so forth and going to like the DIA and all this kind of like taking part of all these like cultural events and all that kind of thing, which was like always the coolest thing, being in like I grew up in West Bloomfield, and there's not much culturally happening there.
There isn't.
So
there isn't.
There's nothing happening there. Like being part of like Detroit music for me was a very huge thing, because I was able to learn from like people like Marcus Belgrade. Once I got to like 8th grade, I was like in civic youth ensembles, and that was when I really started like gigging and all that kind of stuff around that age, and was learning from like Rodney and so forth, like Rodney and Shahida and Marcus Belgrave, all the people that were like part of that educational experience that was given to me. Like I was taken in, like I felt like I was like I was taken into the family, which was great because so I mean, I don't know. It's like if I had to pick like a Detroit artist, I would pick probably Ed Love.
Okay.
Because that was my he was like my biggest.
He was your go-to.
Well, the Ed Love. My mom listened to like Billy Goat.
Oh yeah, that guy. That was that guy. Right.
There you go. So Ed Love. That's my pick.
If you want to play jazz, listen to that.
It's Ed Love.
And as far as you, Zoe, and Sex Appeal, you all both are very heavily influenced by hip hop, as well as jazz, as well as neo soul. I personally cannot stand that term, but for people, yeah. So I want to know how you all not only were inspired to start doing the music that you all did, but how you all decide to incorporate it into other genres and master that.
Well, my path was so roundabout because like I started with piano lessons early, but then I found a love for baseball. So piano kind of took a back seat, and then I was baseball, like baseball paid for college, baseball I got drafted, and then once baseball ended, then it was like, damn, all right, I had I had full days where I just wasn't, because I mean baseball is just you go to practice, you condition, go to class, go back to practice, all that stuff. So once that ends, it's like, okay, I have nothing to do. So I basically took that passion for baseball, put it right into music, put it right back into music because it was always there, and kind of based it off of my upbringing, which my mother played piano, my father played guitar, and with her it was more like the R&B side. So like a lot of Motown, a whole lot of Motown, a lot of Earth, Wind and Fire, a lot of Isley Brothers. On his side, it was more funk and jazz. So it was like Wes Montgomery. You had James Brown, Jimmy, Funkadelic, which is pretty much down the street in Westbound Records. So you take those two sides, and the biggest thing I think was when I would go into the record collection, my parents didn't trip. Where sometimes you go in there, don't touch my record. My parents weren't tripping. So like I would go in there, I'd even take, to this day I have the same record collection, and you see like crayon with me writing my name on there all unsteady. But like, my parents did not trip on me. If I want to take, the Uncle Jam album and throw it on there and play Knee Deep. So, again, like what we were saying earlier, like they allowed me to learn on my own. Which when baseball ended, they also was 110% behind me, which is huge. Because, sometimes you can't get your spouse behind you.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, and it's somebody you live with. So it's like, you get your parents behind what you're doing, and like, once they told me they was behind what I was doing, like, what anybody else said didn't really matter. So, I had the confidence at that point, and I was a heavy listener of JD. I was a heavy listener of The Roots, De La, Tribe, a lot of native tongues where they were already incorporating jazzy type into hip hop, which allowed me to formulate my stuff. So like when I first started, I always say like when I first started, like a lot of my stuff sounded like Dilla because that's what I was listening to. So automatically when you start, you're gonna emulate who you listen to. So I sounded like Dilla, I sounded like Pete Rock, I sounded like DJ Premier. I sounded like Large Professor, and then, but once you, continue with the repetition, continue with the influence, a lot of stuff, influence that you it rolls off and you don't even realize it.
Right.
Mortgage being due can be an influence. You know what I mean? Bills being due can be a heavy influence. For real. You'll have some sleepless nights to pay that, to pay the bills, but I think that's just kind of what it was, kind of like a natural progression for me. I was a hip hop fanatic, and I would listen to R&B. Of course, once I started getting into opposite sex, through middle school, high school, all that kind of stuff. So you set up your little mixtape and all that. That's another story. That's another tape. The actual tape. But I think it's just a matter of again what we listen to and just just kind of shaping it into your own thing, just and without limits, and being as though we came up in an era where mixing R&B with hip hop and mixing jazz with hip hop wasn't out of the norm. Right. It could happen, and it could happen freely, and it was encouraged, which I think is important.
Okay. What about you, Mr. Sax Appeal Ladero Johnson?
Mine is actually, ironically, real similar to what Tahazo's upbringing was, minus like baseball and stuff. It just kind of happened really organic. At the time, I didn't even have a name to kind of put the label to it. You know, it wasn't even about making a certain type of genre of music. It was just, I just wanted to make good music, you know. And the music that I wanted to make, I didn't necessarily hear, but I knew what the influences were. You know, I started out playing at 7, from DPS, 2nd grade all the way up. You know, played in college, studied at Wayne State, you know, and I got on the scene back in high school from Marcus. And even before that, I was 12, 13 playing at the Serengeti Ballroom up under Felton Jones. He's like, you'll be okay just going to upstairs. Oh, wow. You know, so it was like, right, yeah, exactly. So like, the cats that I needed to be around, they all supported me at a really, really young age. You know, they covered me. So I knew it is, you know, and especially now because I can see like everybody on this panel, we're doing the exact same thing for the people who are coming up now. Like me and Randy was talking about, we were sitting out and somebody walked up and was like, yo, what's up, And we was like, we're those guys, you know, like, how did you hear that fast? Like, it's ridiculous.
That's great, bro.
Right. Real quick.
We not bad.
We But yeah, like, jazz has always been a huge influence, you know, so I knew early on that whatever I was doing, it would be jazz influence, you know, jazz related. Of course, would be jazz is not just a genre of music, but an expression of self,
right?
You know, and I'm sure everybody can agree with that. Ironically, I remember hearing, well, actually, I got on the soul scene. You're not going to use the new one, but the soul scene from playing with Dwele. I started playing with Dwele back when I was 19. Toured with him. I still, you know, on and off. Whenever he needs me, I'm there. But you know, started with him at 19, and from him, I started playing with Eric Roberson, and from them, started playing with Zoe. But I remember being out one day with Eric Roberson, and we went to like an after party joint. And DJ, we were in Indianapolis, and the DJ was DJ Metronome, and he had a mixtape, or CD, mixtape, whatever. But he had a joint, and he was playing Greater Than the Sun, and I didn't know who it was. I was in the middle of dancing, and I stopped, and I ran up to the table. Like, who is this? You know how you hear stuff, and you know it's from Detroit? That's exactly what it was. I was like, who made this song, and I don't know who it is? Like, right, this doesn't make sense. Who is this playing? He was like, oh man, you know what this is? Oh man, this is Zoe, man, from your place. And I was like, okay. So like literally, after I heard that song, it was my alarm clock. I woke up to Greater Than the Sun. Like, it was something about that song. Something about that song, like my wife hated me. Every time I got up, she was like, get up. I'm sick of this song. Get up. Turn that off. I get up every morning like, thank you for laughing. But I don't know. It literally happened like ridiculously organically. And then I also remember being on the scene, and actually I had the chance to meet JD once. We were in rehearsal with Dwele, and I was working on a song for my second album, Time Flies. And as I was making the concept on Dwele's, what was that keyboard? It was one of not the motif, Triton. Okay. Yeah, I was like, exactly, I'm sorry. Which was at the time, like the Triton was the board. It was it. It was it. Touch screen. And yeah, oh my God. But I'm working on this joint, and then Dilla walks up, and he's like, yo, man, what you working on? And I'm like, concept joint. And at the time, I didn't know what it was. Like, and we just in the middle of, like, about to start rehearsal. He walked over, I got my headphones, so he's like, listen to it. So he's listening, and he got that off time or whatever. And he was like, man, that sound like me, this dope. And in my mind, I'm like, I don't know who you are. You know what I'm saying? Like, so then he leaves, and then I was like, do you know who that was? I was like, nope. That's Jay Dilla. I was like, oh, okay. Still don't know what this is at that time. You know, so I leave, and I'm young, this is like 18, 19-year-old me, so I'm like, oh, that's nice. It's nice to meet you, Mr. Diller. You know, man, I go back and start researching stuff. I'm like, yo, man, what? So it was just everything that happened in order to create the music that I not only perform but produce, and that I'm a huge fan of. It all happened organically, you know, and it all happened just based on the expression of self. So That's how I fuse them all together.
Okay. Well, one last question that you all can answer it very briefly, because all y'all long-winded. Y'all remind me of myself. I'm like, the one question I'll ask you all is, where do you see the future of Detroit jazz community going, and what projects do you have coming up, if any, or what shows? The elder? No, I'm joking. Go ahead, Mr. Jallo.
Where do I see the jazz community?
Yes, where do you see the jazz community going, and what do you have coming up? Brief answers from everybody. Thank you.
I don't know where it's going, really.
Oh, Lord.
It's going in the direction that it's just going to have to go, you know what I mean? I can't be the judge to say the jazz community is going this way or that way, because it can go any way, you know what I mean?
Where do you, okay, well, I'll revamp the question. Where do you want to see it heading towards? What do you want to see that are improvements that are needed?
I like what I'm saying.
You know what, Jallo.
I like what I'm saying.
I'm messing with
I
Jallo.
get what he's saying. I mean,
I feel you.
because you got Kasan, Ian, who are
Right.
younger cats, you
The
know.
newer generation.
So yeah, I mean that's the way it's going, and they absolutely carrying on
They very
everything
much are.
that's been, you know. I mean, I think that if Harold Kenny were alive today, he
They're
would
very
listen to
proud.
him, like, oh shit,
Yeah, where this at?
I did what you doing. I mean, and then this Marcus Belgrave son, so.
Drop my
Right, yeah. I mean, that's what that is. But I mean, it's. Oh man, kill 'em. But, I
Outstanding.
mean, it's going the way it needs to go. They doing a good job.
They doing an outstanding job.
But yeah,
No, y'all are doing an outstanding job. Shut up. You just did the whole Charles H. Wright thing. Be quiet. You good.
kill 'em.
What do you have coming up then?
I got something coming up at the Charles Wright on the 29th
Okay.
with the Neb Gloria House.
Okay.
Yeah, she's having a book signing and opening. And we're going to play some effects behind some of her poetry.
Oh, okay. That's what's up.
Yes.
What about you?
As far as jazz and the future of jazz, it seems like to me, the education that we've received from the people, the musicians that are all from Detroit, it's like we kind of take that, and the most important thing that we have, the most important musical skill that we have is the ability to improvise and the ability to just it's feel is the most important skill that we have. So we take that and kind of adapt that to anything that we want to do. So when it comes to jazz, I think that it's basically just going to go in the direction, jazz musicians are going to be jazz musicians, that we're going to take the skills that we have and our sensibilities and take it to whatever other genres we want to take it to, like hip hop, electronic music, like house, techno, all that kind of stuff is stuff that we kind of just will adapt to. And so basically that's kind of whatever jazz musicians choose to do is where jazz is going to go, because it's going to have the same
Depending on who it is.
I mean, I like that you said that, because I mean, just the the past jazz festival, last week, Common was here performing with Kareem.
Yeah.
So
Again,
that's
right.
That's a really
Again.
big thing. He's saying
Did it before.
jazz musicians going, kind of taking whatever it is that they do and expanding it. I mean, we all know Kareem Briggins.
Kareem Perry is hip hop and jazz.
Played with John, from John Lennon to Diana Krall. Started out with Marcus and those cats. Yeah. I mean, yeah, Paul McCartney. Yeah, Paul. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Paul McCartney.
He's like, what up, white people? What up, rich white people? That one guy.
But yeah, I mean, but he's one of those cats that that kind of take his jazz sensibilities into
Indeed.
wherever he's going. So I guess that's the same kind of thing. But yeah, that was big for a jazz festival.
Indeed. And they did it twice because he did it a few years ago with Riggins. Yep.
Jazz musicians, I think, are just like the most employable because we can improvise, we can like feel stuff, we can basically just like make stuff up on the spot.
That's true.
And that's like the most important skill that I've found because like any kind of music is gonna need that, like, you know, and if you can do that and improvise and all that kind of thing and like exercise your artistic sensibilities like at will in an informed way, then that's kind of just like where you can, that's the most important thing to do as a musician. And that's why jazz musicians.
What shows do you have coming up briefly?
I am playing at D-Electricity next week. I'm
Okay.
doing like a live house set. Probably gonna have some musicians up there. I play every Wednesday at Motor City Wine, which is in Corktown. It's from 9 p.m. to 12. I play duo with Alex White, a drummer. Video 7, a group that I
Outstanding.
oh yeah, huge co-founded with my friend Brendan Asante. We're all out here working on new material, and so there's gonna be more stuff. You can find us at entervideo7.com. And yeah, other stuff, mainly Motor City Wine, live house sets. I'm around here playing random gigs.
He on everything, on every show with an instrument in his name is somewhere, and I'm here for that. What shows do you have coming up, if any, or are you the school bug right now? Because we believe in that also.
Well, yeah, I'm playing a lot of fraternity gigs.
That works.
That's the word. Cool. Play like rock, like top 40 stuff.
Oh.
Well, starting this upcoming Monday, I'm recording with Miss Aretha Franklin.
Okay. Fancy
the 18th to
pants.
the 25th.
Okay.
She's putting out, I think, one more album.
Last one. Wow.
Yep. For yeah. I think she's still doing work, but she's just good. This is her last
last
album.
Yeah.
So I'm very honored to be. I can't even start to like explain how honored I am.
That's
to
wonderful.
do that. I'm also playing. What else am I playing? Tomorrow I'm playing at Grand Circus Park for this U of M event for like a Native American like society grant or something like that. We're opening up for Mayor Dugan, and
I love him so much.
oh, ooh, Mayor Dugan. Oh, no,
I tell you, open it up.
no.
Y'all stop. Leave that boy alone. What about you, Brandon?
I got way too many shows coming up. I don't know, but bwilliamsmusic.com. You can find out where all.
And what was on TV last night?
Oh yeah, my music was just featured in Greenleaf.
Clap.
Yeah, that was kind of.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
That's Ava money.
That's Oprah money.
That's yeah, same thing.
That's a little big.
Yeah, that's right.
Step up.
Yeah. Say, that's Oprah.
No, but yeah, and I mean that's about it. I got a new record coming out in 2018, The Law Factor.
Okay.
Yeah, that's about it.
What about you, Seth?
Working on a new project, out next year. I have a gig tomorrow up at Uptown Grill. Out in Commerce Township tomorrow, and next week I'm back out with Zoe. The week after that I'm out with Charlie Wilson.
Charlie Wilson.
Charlie.
First name Charlie.
Last name Nuggets.
That's about it. Working on some more production stuff. That's about it though. Find me on Facebook, Instagram, etc. Roll up in the chills.
And what about you, Zoe? Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, right now, I guess the main thing is the Making Skybreak documentary is what I've been working on, which will be screening on Saturday via MegaCon Film Festival.
Second screening, first one was interesting, but we're not going to go there.
It's at, 4 o'clock? 4 o'clock.
4 p.m. to 5 p.m. at Detroit Public Library main branch.
So we're running that, but that's been, I think it was just accepted to 2 more film festivals, so that's 9 total.
Clap.
before Sky Break, so we'll be out next week. Cleveland, Cincinnati, New Orleans, Dallas, Houston.
Y'all going to Toronto, right? Didn't I read that?
Are you
Yeah,
still
we
on
was-
Oh, y'all went to Toronto? Okay.
Toronto, yeah, we did Toronto. Yeah, we're still doing Houston.
Oh yeah.
Still doing Houston. And they're excited, so we hyped up.
Okay.
Oh, that's another thing. Talk about the future of jazz.
Come with it.
I just got offered the position at the Detroit Symphony Orchestra.
Okay.
Civic Youth Mentorship.
Okay. Okay. That's wonderful.
So yeah, I'm curious to see how I'm gonna
Traumatize these kids.
how I'm gonna lead the next young kids. Yeah, maybe. Actually, that's probably what we need. Right. So yeah, that would be fun. I'm excited for that.
That's all.
Okay.
And to talk about the future of jazz, you got cats like Hassan, you got cats like
That's right.
you got Modern Element.
All they friends. Lil Ben. Lil Benny. All of them.
Yeah. All the Rolling cats, man.
All of them.
False Nino.
You know, I mean, the cats are killing it. You know, and it's so great to see them still at such a hungry age, you know, a hungry state, because sometimes you forget as you know, working so much, especially in the city, it's like, oh, I gotta go do this gig, and you see them, and they just excited.
They're everywhere. Hype as hell. Deep.
And it's like,
28 friends are playing for free. Yeah.
and will give you a show.
Yes.
And for real show, they're gonna put they all into it, and it's like, look, I'm glad this is where y'all at, you know what I'm saying? So the future of jazz looks good, not only just for the city, but I mean, we all know once they get out of the city, it's worldwide, especially with the Detroit Cats. So it's looking good, no doubt.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you all for not only showing up, for actually participating and speaking so well and dealing with me and not knowing what I'm doing up here. So thank y'all so much. I appreciate y'all.